Hello and welcome to another episode of Spiritual Diner, our live stream about consciousness, personal growth, manifesting, spirituality, learning to love yourself, expanding community, and so much more.
Each week, we prepare a scrumptious menu of fresh and healthy perspectives to nourish your mind, body, and spirit as we continue on this fabulous and tasty journey called life.
I'm Vash Boddie. I'm a journalist, manifester, healer, but I like to say coach, recipient of messages from a spirit guide, and the owner of an unabridged dictionary.
I got one of those too.
Very
I'm
important.
Tammy Reyes, and my spiritual journey began when I was about 6 years old and realized that I seemed to be able to have a connection with animals and different kinds of energies. Until about 10 years ago, I was a school teacher with all grades, K through college. Then I retired and I got to focus full time on developing my psychic intuition. And so I just love to learn everything that I can to try to make me better and clearer at that. And I love to geek out on all the stuff like art, literature, architecture, travel, food, everything beautiful. I just love it. And I'm so happy to be here with you today on our second episode of Spiritual Diner.
Absolutely, because together we make up the diner. And today's special is just about ready.
And there is no finer diner in all the cosmos.
That's right. And if you're new here, be sure to subscribe so you always get alerted when we're open and what is on the menu. So what's on the show today?
Okay, we are getting to it. Well, today we have got a fun show. We're going to be serving up the power of words by examining how words affect us and how we can evolve by using our words in powerful ways.
Exactly. So for those of you who are watching, do you think about what you say before you say it?
And are there some words that really sting or that maybe give you some kind of exciting tingle?
Perhaps there was a time when words lifted you up.
And do you realize that certain word patterns carry meaning and emotion?
Do certain words resonate with you and bring good things into your world? We'll talk about all of this and more in the Spiritual Diner. Here we go.
So, Vash, let's start by clarifying what are words. So, a word just means a single, distinct, meaningful element of speech or writing. Sometimes there's a space before a word, there's a space after a word. That's a word.
And sometimes words can be complete and absolute sentences. We'll talk about that in just a moment.
So, what do we mean by words have power or the power of words? What gives words their power?
That is a really interesting question, right? For me, I believe that what gives words their power is the intention behind it, right? Because you can say a word and have it mean nothing to someone and have it mean something very, very different to another person. So I say intentions are a really good giver of power to words.
Yeah, it makes us more in the moment and present. There's going to be more power behind our words.
Yeah.
So we talked a little about the origins of words and the roots of words and how important that is when thinking about the power of words.
Absolutely.
And go ahead.
No, you go ahead.
I was just thinking, that we have so many examples of that. We were talking about the root words, like, for example, the word abracadabra. And that means the root of that is spirit and sharing. And so that's a little bit about understanding the root words, because that's going to be part of our intention when we're talking to others.
Exactly. Exactly. Another thing that gives words their power is our emotional connection to them, meaning our energy that we put either behind the word or that the word actually has within itself.
Yeah. Yeah.
Mhm.
And words have power because they crystallize or help develop perceptions that shape our beliefs. They could drive out behavior, and they ultimately create our world.
Exactly. And words are the ways that our body creates and affects the energy of the cosmos. So energy affects the atmosphere, and it also helps us to manifest. So all of these things connected really do give words their power. Some of it is internal and some of it is external.
Yeah. A simple example is when you yell fire and see what people do.
Yes. And that's one of those words that, you should use very, very, very carefully. So,
But words do so much, Vash.
yeah, they really actually do. Uh, Words can, first of all, communicate. We use them to form thoughts and put them out into the universe.
Hmm. And words can uphold the truth, or they can propagate a lie.
Yes, they can.
That
Yes,
happens sometimes.
it does. It does. And that ultimately gets back to the intention of the person who is using those words.
Yeah.
Words can incite anger or they can
Hmm.
invoke passion.
Hmm. They can end a friendship too.
They can also bring people together, they can create friendships.
Sometimes we think that people know how we feel about a particular word, but we may be taking it for granted and they don't. And that can cause some confusion.
I remember being taught in school that there is no such thing as absolute communication. And that has always affected me throughout my entire life because I always know that no matter what I say and how clear it is in my head and the imagery that I have around it, that there is never an opportunity for me to say it in such a way that someone else understands it exactly the same. Uh, so I started to learn how to speak in a way that made people feel things. I'll try to give examples as we go through the show, but yeah, as a means of trying to communicate to get around words, I try to speak through feelings, which is sort of
Yeah.
interesting.
Yeah. That kind of reminds me of what we said earlier, which is intention. And if I can add being in the moment with that, if we are clear about our intention when delivering words to others and we're in the moment, we can tap in a little bit, read them perhaps to
Mhm.
know what words might we go forward with, or maybe we don't want to say anything at all.
Absolutely. I think that's really important. Um, we have words can destroy. Do you want to speak on that?
Well, when you say cruel words to somebody, I'm especially thinking of my times as a teacher, and I actually heard teachers or parents saying to their kid, "What's wrong with you? Why can't you be like your brother? You're stupid," or something like that. Think about the impact and how that carries over to the rest of their life, unless they're super tough and can let it roll off. Words can destroy.
Yeah. And it's really interesting how we can look at the power of words from two different ways. And if you're watching and you're with us, you can see that sometimes we're talking about how words are coming from the outside to us and the power that they have. But we are going to really focus a lot in this episode about how we choose and say and communicate words that help to shape our world and to manifest, make us feel better, and to accelerate the dreams and goals that we have. So know that we are coming to those things as we work through the fact that words can heal. Words
Yeah,
coming
yeah,
from you can actually create a powerful, positive impact.
right. And as we were brainstorming all these ideas, there's so many examples. And I bet our viewers have a lot to share as well. But we're putting forth the idea of the power of words today because it helps to raise our consciousness. And that's what we're all about at Spiritual Diner, learning more, expanding our thinking, and stuff like that.
Exactly. and harnessing our power to manifest and create the world that we want to live in. So
Absolutely.
it's so exciting to do this. We almost made this our first episode, but we really thought, let's talk consciousness first, and then we'll talk the power of words and refer back to consciousness. And I just want to say, even just right now, if you have not seen our first episode, please, you can go to our link tree, which is linktr.ee/spiritual diner, or go to any social media platform that plays video and or podcasts. Search for Spiritual Diner. Look for that photo, picture, imagery. Click on it and find us, because we are waiting for you to catch up and share more of Spiritual Diner with us.
Yeah, because when we're putting these together, we keep thinking, what do other people think? What are other perspectives? I want to know others. And there was a couple times where, at least for me, I didn't have anything to say. And I was wondering, well, how would someone else perceive this or explain the concepts we're talking about? So we do care about your ideas, and it gives us fuel for moving on.
Absolutely. We may have incorporated some of your comments and questions in future episodes. So please talk to us in the comments. So, all right, Tammy, since we're really now looking at trying to harness the power of words, what are some traditionally powerful words that you know and or use?
Mm-hmm. Well, the ones we teach little tots are please, thank you, I'm sorry, I apologize. And those are important. Imagine if you can't do that, if you can't say you're sorry because you've got an ego or something like that.
Mm-hmm.
But another one is, how may I help?
Interesting.
What ideas do you have? What are some power words from you?
Well, for me, powerful words help to advance an objective, a goal, a life, a vision, what have you. I find that the word yes is extremely powerful. I know that when the universe is conspiring to help me achieve something, because I've either said that I wanted it or what have you, it will put things in my way to guide me to those things. And oftentimes saying yes to them will advance me toward a goal faster than I thought could be possible, because the universe has put that avenue in my way. So saying yes to opportunities is very, very powerful.
Yes opens up your thinking. And here's a little side note about how John Lennon and Yoko Ono got together. Yoko Ono had an art exhibit somewhere in Manhattan there, and John Lennon was there. And the art that she had was, you go up a ladder, and at the very top on the ceiling was a little tiny word that said yes. So as Lennon climbed that ladder and saw the yes, and then looked down at Yoko, things happened.
That's adorable. That's a great way to, get the message across and to hook a man. I'll have to remember to write that.
There you go.
Another word that is powerful that seems to also be helpful and is somewhat controversial in the powerful category is the word no. And I'm actually going to take it a little further and say it is a complete sentence.
Yeah,
Sometimes, yeah, right?
Mm-hmm.
Being put in situations that you either not comfortable or you really, truly don't want. Having the ability to say no and feel comfortable with that and sit in your power in that and not have to explain that can be extremely powerful.
Yeah. And do you think it's it reflects somebody's consciousness? Because I'm thinking of someone that always says yes. That person never says no, and everything it kind of becomes a burden. He starts to carry a lot of weight around. So the power of no is important. And one of my girlfriends even gave me a book about the power of saying no. And when I first pondered, I thought, you can say no, because I wanted to please everybody. So there's a connection in no that has to do with our boundaries. It's not necessarily a negative word, especially when you start to come into your power In fact, I think it's really needed because you will start to distinguish between what's right for you and what's wrong, and you're definitely going to have to say no sometimes.
Yes. But considering that I just said that yes is super duper powerful, I struggle with no a lot. Not because I'm not capable of saying no. It's just that I always trust that the universe is trying to help me in some way. When presented with an opportunity, that I often want to say yes, because either it's going to give me an opportunity to grow in some way, or that journey is going to take me into something that is going to help me. Let me give you an example. A friend wanted to borrow my car or have me take them to get some things, to run an errand. And I thought, I'm busy, I've got stuff to do. No is what was in my heart, but I said yes. And while we were on the errands, I was able to take care of two things that I needed to take care of that I would not have gotten done had I said no, right? So, it's one of those things where it's trusting that your path is protected and guided, and that these opportunities come in. So
Oh.
I'm thoroughly interested to hear what people have to say about yes and about no, and where they find the power in both of those.
So your yes thinking really kind of fit with your no thinking at that time. And it goes back to intention. Because when I say no, get off the counter to one of my cats, that's okay.
I think that's
That's a
totally
positive
okay.
no,
Yeah, absolutely.
unless they don't get off.
Right,
Then my
right.
power of words shifts a bit.
Yeah, it does. It does. So yeah, it's just really interesting. It's like in terms of how we move through the planet, like, and how those two words play. I find them very, very interesting, and I would like to hear more from people about how they play with them, and do they say yes sometimes just to see what the universe has in store for them.
Me too. How about the word love?
Love is a great one. Do you want to speak of that first?
Well, everything comes back to love. Our
Mhm.
intentions, when they're rooted in love, gets us further along in manifesting what we want or reaching our goals or feeling better about ourselves. And I believe you've got the word love on your shirt today. And then when I saw that, I wished I would have worn my shirt that says, all you need is love.
My shirt says love. Let me see if I can give it to you. Love is, see if I can show that. Love is everything, is what it says. And I believe that. Love is extremely powerful, especially for manifesting. Uh, you often hear people say that if you have a dream and the dream is bigger than you, I often say that if you have a dream and it includes love, coming from a place of love, and it'll manifest love, that is super amplifying for what your energy is all about. And I don't want to go too far into that because we go into energy next week and we'll be talking about manifesting. But anytime you can infuse love into anything that you're doing, it is going to feel better. It's going to have better results. It's just going to be
I,
better.
I wonder if that's why there's so many songs about love, or where love is the theme of a book or a movie or something. There's just a lot about love. It's kind of interesting because with so much about love out there, one might think that we could all embrace it more easily, but food for thought.
I wonder if it's love or if it's lust that people are singing about.
Hmm. I guess that would depend on how you see it and who's doing the song. Speaking of that, Tom Jones.
Yes.
Okay, so my granny turned me on to Tom Jones, and I really liked Tom Jones. And
Uh-huh.
then when I got with Ray, he liked Tom Jones too, but he mentioned something, he brought up something that I had never noticed before about Tom Jones and what he's known for. Do you know what I'm talking about?
His hip movements and
Um,
pelvic
so it's
thrusts.
not so much about love, but that would be a lust thing, and that
Yeah.
totally changed my whole view of
Well,
Tom Jones. So lust and love, they kind of go together, but not all the time.
yeah. I mean, I'm talking about just a pure sense of love that is non-sexual.
Yes. Yes.
So, right, that love. Well, you know what? I'm okay if it's any kind of love. Let's just keep it all going.
Love is love.
Yes.
All you need is love.
All you need is love. And that takes us to imagine.
Hmm.
I find that imagine is super duper powerful as well, because what it does is it gives you an opportunity to think about something differently. And
Yeah.
I'm a firm believer that if your mind can conceive it, that it's possible.
Yeah.
And if it's
Yes. Yes.
possible, then we can make it happen.
It seems the word breaks down barriers as well because I'm thinking of when I was a school teacher and I would say to the kids, imagine what it feels like, whatever follows. Or if I'm leading a meditation, a lot of times the word imagine yourself, yada, yada, yada.
Okay.
So imagine is a word that actually does have a lot of power and changes one's energy when they hear it, really hear it.
Interesting. Because you like, yeah, you're not just hearing it, you're actually embodying it, right? It's
Right.
actually
Yep. Yep.
changing the way that your mind is working.
Yes.
That's
Yeah.
super powerful.
Yeah. Yeah.
That's super powerful.
What about want and will? We were thinking that those might be in this category.
Those are really good ones, right? Because that comes down into really hitting what your intention is, right? That's like desire energy, which resonates within our body super differently and creates um, almost like a vacuum by which the universe wants to fill. That's what want is, and then will is that energy of determination, which also falls under intention.
Yeah. Um, and then I used to think, less so now, that want was kind of a bad word in a way because it implied greed. Like, I want new bed linens because I'm sort of looking for some new sheets and stuff.
Uh-huh.
That is superficial in a way, whereas will changes the vibe. Like, I will be psyched when I finally find some decent sheets and blankets and so on. So, want can be a little bit needy or possessive sometimes, I think,
Hmm.
and will is softer.
Very, very interesting. So saying I want new bed sheets versus I will get new bed sheets. I mean, I feel how they're different.
Want doesn't seem to work for me all the time. It makes me feel like I'm coming from a place that I'm not satisfied and I want more. And I'm very satisfied with everything,
Hmm.
but I will look forward to the day where I find decent sheets. And don't get me started on the quality of linens.
That's hysterical. Well, if it's okay, I'd like to stay here for a second,
Okay.
because want. I mean, and just saying those two things, I want new sheets. I will get new sheets. Um, I don't know. Like, I don't think that want for me. And you said something really powerful. You said you don't really get the result, or it doesn't feel right for you. I'm really clear that we all have magic words that work for us. That there's a way that you can phrase something that connects to your energy and your attention that brings it to you more quickly. So if want doesn't work for you, then by all means, that should be one that you avoid. Um, but it's really interesting. I find that want stirs something in me.
Maybe I feel better about the word want if we use it like this. I want world peace. I want people to get along. I want the sun
Okay.
to come out today. So maybe it goes back to intention.
Well, and what works for you, right? I mean, we're talking about the power of words, and we're really trying to make it clear that everyone is going to have different experiences with certain words, and that
Hmm.
these are general categories and things that we think should be looked at, right?
Hmm.
I
Hmm.
mean, as you are thinking about what to say and how you're saying it, understand the ramifications and repercussions of those words and see how they feel, because it's all
Yeah,
about that.
yeah.
So
It
good.
makes you think, wow, you really need to think before the stuff comes out of your mouth. Not that that should make you um, not comfortable or free to talk, but it just, I guess the whole thing about the power of words is to help each other to realize that putting a little bit of thought and being in the moment and being connected to your intentions before those words come out are so important.
It's sort of like feng shui for it's like verbal feng shui, right? I mean, are you familiar with the principles of feng shui?
Oh,
Having things
totally. Yeah. Are
right,
you kidding?
exactly. I mean, who am I talking to, right? Um, for those of you who don't know, I have known Tammy for a very, very long time. We went to high school together. Um, so feng shui says if you put things in certain places, it's going to increase your energy and the flow of your chi. And it's the same thing with words.
Yes.
So,
Yeah. Yeah.
yeah. So here's my favorite powerful word. It's yet. I have found
Mm.
and I have helped people get past some extremely difficult situations by have them phrasing what is either going on or where they're going or the obstacle that they need to overcome by incorporating the word yet.
Yeah.
Often at the end, at the beginning, you know, uh, I haven't learned to ride a bike yet, or I don't know how to ride a bike yet. I have not perfected cooking a turkey yet. It just infuses this amazing sense of uh, energy, a boost in what is the word I'm looking for? Determination.
It kind of reminds me of imagine, because as soon as the receiver hears that word, there's a shift in their thinking. Like if you think about the word problem, that can be intimidating. But if you change it to the word opportunity, like I have a problem with um, I have a problem with driving all the way to New York. But if I shift that to I have the opportunity to drive all the way to New York. Wow, what an experience that's going to be. So it kind of reminds me of those words that shift our thinking as soon as the person who they are directed toward hears them.
Or even just saying them yourself, right? I mean, if I say, as you just said, I have the opportunity to drive cross country, what that means is suddenly your brain is likely to start picking up with, well, what are all the different places that I could stop along the way? Who do I know along the way that I could see who I haven't seen for a while? Like it really does open your mind and infuses a great deal of optimism. And sometimes to
Yes.
overcome things, what you need
Yes.
is optimism.
Yeah.
So,
Yeah.
yes,
So I'm wondering what our viewers think, what their suggestions are, because for me, it took a lot of thinking to come up with some of these words. There were so many possibilities. So I'm curious what other people think.
absolutely. And if you have a story uh, with the word yet, I'd love to know. And if you need us to help you rephrase or reframe a desire or an intention or an affirmation to make it so that it's more meaningful to you, by all means, please leave it in the comments. I mean, we're not here just talking and telling you stuff. We really want you to know that we are here as a resource for you because our goal is to help everybody raise their consciousness and ascend, evolve, get closer to different tribes, etc.
Yeah, totally. That's why we're doing this. Is we want to reach out. We want to have those connections where we can build new words together, build new vocabulary. And when I go like this, Wash, what that means is in my mind, the way I would hope things to be. And
Hmm.
so in my mind, the way I hope things would be is like a happy place. Like I keep coming back to the beginning of Snow White, which is so white, I know. But when she comes out of her little cottage before she hooks up with the dwarves, um, she starts singing a song, and all the little birds come to her, and the little animals come up to her. And that's what I imagine when I'm visualizing my ideal or how I want something to be. So if you see me going like this, it means that place I live in my head, that is the ideal.
Will you just randomly do that periodically? So I should just keep an eye out for that.
Yes, I think
Okay,
you
right
should.
on. I am here for you, whatever you need. You are safe here. It's a safe space. Well, I have to point out that Ray wrote I don't love Excel yet.
Oh, there you go. There
You
you go.
see, I
See, he's
feel
learning.
I feel the progress already. I feel it already.
Me too. And it makes me feel like he'll be able to conquer that pain.
Absolutely. I mean, it really truly does, because now he's open to learning tips and tricks that might make it more fun. And I actually follow someone on TikTok who does tips and tricks for Excel. So I highly recommend you go to TikTok. I think it will help you.
Oh, okay,
Mhm.
right on. There's a connection right there.
Which,
So, what about powerful words that one might avoid?
ooh, I like this. Because there are definitely some words to avoid. Um, you want to start off with this one?
Well,
Hate.
hate. Yeah, hate was a biggie that came up. And it's because we were sharing this that I have a dear friend, and she doesn't like the word hate, and she doesn't like her children to use the word hate. And so, I kind of felt guilty for using the word hate, but it made me really think about that, how it is one of those words that has huge, maybe more than any word we have on our list or agenda. It has such a huge impact when you say, I hate those type of people. I hate that they don't do things my way. It really does put a negative spin on whatever's coming up. But we were also talking about hate in the form of, for me, Indian food. I don't like it. I hate it. I'm going to say hate with Indian food. And so it goes back to intention. But what a powerful word hate is.
It really is. It does put certain energies through your body. But the thing about hate for me that is important is that it is not the opposite of love. So hate has energy around it that seems unresolved and is struggling in some way to be resolved. So when I hear someone use the word hate, I'm always wondering, like, well, where are you on your journey to resolving that thing, either that you think you should love, or you're on your way to just not having anything to do with? Like,
So it's a reflection of one's consciousness, perhaps?
I think so. Partially a representation of one's consciousness, but also more so a representation of one's journey with a particular item, right? I mean, if you hate
Yeah.
Indian food, uh, there's energy in your body with that, versus I don't want to have anything to do with Indian food, which if you're Indian and you're watching this, because Padma Lakshmi, I really love you, and I know you're going on to other things, but I loved you on Top Chef. I don't have a love for Indian food either. Like, it does awful things to my body. So, but I don't like, when I just have no energy around it, right? Like, I'm just like, whenever we're talking about where to go for food, it just never comes up.
It's not on my
Never
list.
in my consciousness.
Yet, I'm sure there's some
Yet.
Indian dishes that we haven't tried that will be pretty yummy.
So we can say we don't love Indian food yet.
There we go. There's a happy medium.
Okay. I love that. I mean, it gives the opportunity for us to be invited over to places where there's Indian food, and for us to nibble and try it in a way that is safe, nourishes our body, and feeds our souls.
Yeah. Again, it's intention, because when you say, for example, I don't want to come out to California because I hate all the Mexicans out there. That's a very different energy than I hate when I turn on the shower and the water's really cold.
Absolutely.
So it's interesting. It's just a little 4-letter word, but there's so much meaning and power in that word.
And it's a window into other things that can and could be explored.
Okay, so how about the word try?
Mm-hmm.
Is that a
Why?
bad word? Is that one we want to avoid?
Well, it depends. Yoda does not like it. Yoda don't like it. Try is somewhat of a cop out, if you will,
Yeah.
right? Either
Yeah.
you will or you won't,
Yeah.
right? The
Yes.
I the try. Although there is a quote that I really like, and it is that you should always do your best to try your best, because the best is the best you can do. And I often get that mixed up. Is you should always try your best to do your best, or is it always do your best to try your best? One of them is more powerful, but whichever it is, try fits in there nicely. Otherwise,
Yes. Um, Going back to a school teacher, because that's what I did for over 30 years. But rule number two, after believing in yourself, is try your best.
mhm,
That's a more positive aspect of try.
mhm,
But if you say to me, okay, I want you to learn this material and prove to me that you know it by the end of the day, if I say, I'll try, it doesn't seem like I'm really giving it the gusto that I could. So again, it's just kind of intention. And
mhm.
I didn't know there was so much to the word try.
There's a lot. If I invite someone to a party and they say, "Oh, I'll try to make it," I do not
Oh,
make a canapé for them. There is no
yeah,
crudité for them.
absolutely not. They're not going to get a little name tag by their place setting.
Exactly. That's
And
important.
along with try is the word deserve. Kind of reminds me of want too. Like I deserve to have this. That seems a little greedy, but I've got a background with Hinduism where everything materialistic and wanting, needing was kind of shunned upon.
Mhm,
So I'm still kind of coming out of that, but deserve seems to be a word that has some negative connotations because there's so many folks that feel they deserve. Look at the Karens and the Kevins.
mhm.
So deserve is just another one of those words that might have some negative connotations.
I guess, but suppose someone says you deserve happiness.
I can't disagree with that. I do deserve happiness, and every single person does deserve happiness. So it goes back to the intention, the way it's said, and maybe the listener too.
I'm gonna, although I said it, I think I may have to backtrack a little bit on that, because I think that what we're tapping into in the word deserve is that there is no effort on the part of the party that deserves, right? I
Yeah.
deserve such and such, which means that you don't have to contribute anything to the cosmos to get that. And I think that perhaps there's a better word that puts energy into things. Um, because even if you work
Yeah.
hard at something, deserving success is not the same as having earned it and evolved to, be a part of the cycle that gives it.
You took the words right out of my mouth. There is a young man that I've done a reading on a few times, and he just came out and said, I deserve to have this. I deserve to have this kind of a job and be able to put my music out there and so on and so on. But he's quite young. He
Mhm.
doesn't play an instrument. He doesn't know how to read music. He
But yeah, he
doesn't know
deserves
Rush.
he deserves a
And
Grammy.
so, but he feels that he deserves it. So, yes, okay, perhaps, but you got to do the work. You have to earn it. It's by no accident that I know that I'm in a position now where I have a little freedom to learn what I want to learn or go play in the garden or do some volunteer work. It took a long time to get into that place.
Mhm.
Do I deserve it? Perhaps.
Well,
Perhaps I've earned it.
it would be interesting to have the different, like, how could he phrase that such that it made the universe help him achieve that,
Hmm.
you know?
Yeah.
Would
Yeah.
that be I want, or I'm going to get, or it'd be interesting to explore that. I don't know
Yeah.
if I have
So
the
I'm
answer.
open to learning the things that I need to learn, which I don't know what they are yet,
Mhm.
so that I can, at the end of this journey, have some peace, freedom, whatever that thing is that turns us on.
I would
It's
even put want,
learn.
or I would put want or will have
Mhm,
in place
mhm.
of deserve to actually get the ball rolling for manifesting. But that's just me. All right, let's jump
Okay.
into other words: can't, won't, and don't. Very different words. Um, I find that can't is it doesn't really describe what is going on. Um, when someone says they can't do something, it usually means that they're not interested in doing it, or that they're just not going to do it, which
Yes.
is, it cuts off your energy whenever you say you can't do something.
Right.
Unless, of course, you put yet.
Yeah, I was just going to say that.
And then you got some magic happening. Um,
Yeah, it's one of those words where when I hear it, it makes me sad. The example I'm thinking of is you're teaching something to a kid and you know that he can do it. And he says, "Oh, I can't do that." Oh, well, he just put up a big old barrier for both of us. Now I got
right.
to do all this work to build him up and make him remember that, yes, you can.
Yeah. Well, now, too bad you can't go back to that same child and just say, well, just say yet, darling. You can't do that yet. And I am here to help you.
Yeah. Yeah.
um, won't is interesting in the sense that it just cuts you off from even trying.
Yes.
And
Yes.
then we're going to get to don't in just a second, because I have a very important message about the word don't.
Okay. But we're still talking about won't.
Okay, well, let's go back and talk
Are
about
we,
won't.
oh, I don't know if we were done.
I
Um,
think so.
I don't have too much else to say about won't, except it's just one of those words that when I hear it, it puts up a wall. It's
Yeah.
like no further thinking or effort's going to go behind that once you say I won't. But it depends on intention. You know, I won't put myself in a situation where I'm going to be abused or hurt. That's a little bit different than saying um, I won't ever learn this. So it goes
Well,
back to intention again.
I'm going to put won't and don't into that category of things that I'm going to talk about in just a second once we get through talking about should, need, and ought.
Okay, bring it on. How about should?
Should and need are very funny words. They put an obligation onto something that changes the energy around either doing it, completing it,
Yeah, good point.
absorbing it, you
Yeah,
know?
good point. Because I know that some people can beat themselves up by saying, I should have done this. I
Mhm.
should have gone about it this way. And pretty soon they're shooting all over the place.
Yes, they are. Or even not even looking backward, but looking forward. You're lying in bed and you're like, I should get up and do laundry, right? I should, call, so and so and go
Mm,
out, right? Like that
mm,
energy of should it's something you don't want to do, and you're trying to force yourself. There are better words to put the energy in to your action or intention to make the action better, more fun, and to manifest more along the way.
yeah. Isn't it interesting
Hmm.
that a word like should has all of these different connotations and meanings, but it keeps coming back, like you said, to intention.
Hmm. Absolutely. Absolutely.
So what about the word need?
Another one, right? It's similar to should in the sense that uh, you need you need to stop wearing red, or you need to, there it's oppressive. I always say
Hmm.
need is a funny word. There are certain things you need, right? We need to eat. We need to breathe. We need, you know, uh, to
Maybe
put on
that
clothes
word
when we
can
go
be kind of liberating. When you have a realization like, I need to get this person out of my life, or I need to go on this adventure. I need to read this book because I know it's going to expand me or improve me in some way.
It's still a very funny word because it's putting uh, a, a level of energy on what it is that you're about to do that puts either an expectation or an escape. There's an energy around it. There is a better word to use to create the energy of what healing or whatever it is that is being offered at the end of the completion of that task.
Yeah. And
So
let's pick one more. The word blame.
uh, we're going to go to the word never.
Okay, let's pick never.
You know why? Because there's a graphic for it. That's why we're
Oh,
picking never.
okay. And I'm relying on reading the text without my glasses. So proceed, Bosch. Bring it on.
Never is is an
Yeah.
extremely important word to avoid using.
Yeah.
And that is because it's for two reasons. And
Yeah.
the main reason is that the universe does not know the difference between do, don't, always, and never. It doesn't. So when you say something like, oh, I'm never going to do that, I challenge everyone who's watching. If you've ever said, I'm never going to do such and such, how often has that exact thing presented itself? Or are you living in the world that you said you would never be in?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's very important. If you take nothing away from this episode today, it is to start to avoid the use of the word never. And then tell me, how has your world changed?
Yeah. Yeah.
Ready?
I'm wondering what the viewers' perceptions are and what some of their words are that would fit into this discussion.
Especially after hearing how we've broken down words and their power and what they do and the energy that they sort of generate within us that comes out. Because when we speak, we start affecting the wavelength of the universe. You know, chanting. People chant for that very, very reason, because it puts out energy to affect the universe and the energy around them. So,
and I'm psyched about talking about energy next time, because this is just a little sample, but words have energy. Chunks of sound have energy.
Yes, they do. Yes.
They travel in waves and meet somebody's ears where they're either well received or not.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
So why are swear words considered taboo or naughty? Or are they?
See, this is a really, really interesting one, because there have been studies that say that people who use swear words are slightly more intellectually honest, right? But
Yes.
on the flip, it is really it's abrasive to people who are hearing it.
Yeah. Yes. Yes.
You know?
Yes. And I am a person that has gone through that shift, because, I had a potty mouth, but I wasn't raised that way. My parents were not cussers. My brother even is not a cusser. It must have been the friends that I hung out with that were a bad influence. I don't know.
I feel attacked. I feel uncomfortable.
Press and company excluded, Vash. But I think that is where it kind of came from. And then it's so common on television and in movies. But when I was reevaluating life, making new plans and goals and everything, it really hit me that I don't want to be a potty mouth anymore. I want to cut back on my swearing. I'm not perfect. I still do it. But in other company, it's been something that I've been able to be really successful at, with not swearing, because I know of the power of words and how that could just ring so hard to somebody or feel really offensive. And I don't know who said it, but it sticks with me all these years, that if you're letting cuss words come out of your mouth all the time, you must not be smart enough to be able to come up with other words to use.
Well, I think that there's something to be said about the intellectual honesty of that, right? If you're able to swear, but then understand that it's not always appropriate, that means you have a greater sense of empathy and connectivity and responsibility to the world around you, because you know that it's not always appropriate, but you know that sometimes it is the thing that's going to release some of the energy that you may actually have.
Yes, especially with humor. And that's what I got out of the article that you highlighted for me, that I believe is available for others. It was an interesting article. It made me think about perhaps I'm being putting too much weight on that, or even maybe I'm being hypocritical. Not just me, but anyone who's thinking about it. So Cuss words. Interesting.
I'm putting this into the chat. What does swearing say about the swearer?
The swearer.
And that is in the chat. So if you're watching on podcast,
And you're a swearer.
somehow find where this video is playing and click on it and read the article. So
One thing we joked about is swearing in foreign languages. That feels a little better, like there's not as much sting.
Or energy around it. But I guess that gets into the intention, right? Like if you're swearing in another language with people around who are not going to be able to hear it, that's one thing. Plus, we grew up in the Philippines, and there are certain swear words in Tagalog that contain a certain amount of humor. We're not going to say them. Can we say them?
Do you still use them?
I do.
Yeah.
One in particular, the one that begins with a P.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
But with that said, let me stick in a quick story. When we did live in the Philippines, Americans had a lot of help, like a maid or a seamstress. And we had this really lovely man. We call them yard boys, but he did our gardening, and he just was a fabulous person. And on the way to school, somebody taught me what I thought meant thank you, have a nice day. And that's not what it meant. So when I got off the school bus this one day, and his name was Archie, and he was there putting those eggs on the spiky plants. Do you remember that? They put eggshells on spiky plants. And I said to him, Ikaw amoy baboy. And he just looked at me, because it means you smell like a pig. Then he told the maid that really hurt his feelings, because he takes 2 showers a day.
Okay.
And so when cussing in foreign languages, it's probably good to know exactly what we're saying.
Yeah, it is. Or when someone tells you what to say to someone, you should probably check it out with a friend or something. So let's talk about this. Is there the difference between the spoken word? I mean, when you're setting intentions, let's talk about this. When you're setting intentions, is the spoken word? Well, let me just go back, because we have a video to show. Is there a difference between the power of the spoken word and the written word? And the reason why I say that is because there was a woman who went to Yellowstone, who went to Yellowstone, and although there was a sign that said "Don't go into the hot springs," she was like, "I want to go." She's like, "It's hot. It's really hot." And someone wrote, "It's hot. If only there were a sign telling them that, since the steaming, boiling water wasn't enough." So
I know, that's kind of something we learn in elementary school. Hot, don't touch. But there she is doing that. Exactly. Wow.
So, but in terms of intentions, when you were saying intentions and trying to make things happen, do you see a difference between the written word and the spoken word?
I feel a difference, but it would depend on what I'm reading, who it comes from, if it's someone that is a meaningful writer to me. And my brain goes in a little bit different direction. I hope this isn't too off the subject, but when you read to someone else, or when you are reading to a group of children and they're engaged in that, that's really powerful. So it's a spoken word, but it's coming from a written word, because that opens up their thinking. It builds trust. It creates a sense of love. It really expands people's thinking when we read to them. And so there's so many different ways to look at that, the written word versus the spoken word. I never came up with a really good answer for that.
Well, in terms of me, when I'm looking to manifest something or to generate something, change within myself, etc., I find that speaking it harnesses more power for me. And you've been someone who's been really, really consistent with saying that journaling is important. To write down what it is that you're feeling, to write down what it is that has happened, because that is powerful. That connects your subconscious to your conscious and makes it real in that way. So I've begun to try to do them both. Like I will write down a manifestation or write some things down, but then I will also speak them out. And I'm currently in a situation right now where I said what I wanted. I wrote it down and I have it right next to my desk, but then I speak it every single day. And I find that the more I speak it, the more connected to it I get. And I see that things are already happening to make it happen, but to make it happen better and deeper than
Yes.
what I thought that it was going to be, because it's connecting some other things that I said that I wanted and needed, and they're coming together.
Yes. Okay. Ooh, and that's the power of affirmations. And whenever I introduce affirmations to people, except kids, they're always open. But a lot of it also be like, oh, that's kind of dorky. But it is a super powerful thing. And when I wake up each morning, before getting out of bed, I think how I'm blessed, I'm lucky. It's going to be a really beautiful day. I'm full of grace. I'm full of love. And get myself psyched to start on the day, because those affirmations really shift our thinking and our mindset, and add to our personal growth. And it just a short little blurb about the journaling. When you are dedicated to journaling, and I recommend we do it upon getting up in the morning, because that's when we're going to be the freshest to pull information from our subconscious into the conscious. But when you go back after a few months and read what you wrote, themes start to emerge and you start to see new ways to go forward on your path. So journaling and affirmations are totally powerful. Can't say enough about them.
So then you've got the written word, which is powerful, and then you have the spoken word, which is where your affirmations can be both written and spoken. So you can tap into that. So as we continue this journey, we hope that people will take that into account. Start journaling, start writing affirmations, saying them out loud, and please share with us what happens and what happens with you. Tammy, we're about near the end of our
I
ride.
know we didn't get to the other stuff, but we'll put it on that list of things to address later, because there's just so much to the power of words. And I really recommend people explore more on their own. There's so much involved with, what's the word? I always get it wrong. The study of words.
Etymology.
Etymology. Yeah. There's so much of that that we could absorb that expands our consciousness. We didn't even get to base words, root words, and everything. So perhaps in the future.
Yeah. I mean, what we've learned is, as we put these shows together, that there are so many things that come up that we're like, okay, that's super important, but it really is not on topic. So we may have a blue plate special show or a mixed hash show where we put it all together. Like, what's another dish you can put things together? Like an omelet. We may have an omelet show where it's just everything that we couldn't put into other shows, just to get through it all and talk to you about it. But anyway, this has been a great conversation, as always, and it's fed my soul, and it's actually really truly made me think differently about some words that I thought I already knew.
Yeah. Yeah. It just made me realize, again, there's so much that I don't know, but I hope that what we can take away is to be thoughtful of our intentions before those words come out of our mouth, because they have so much power. Well, folks, thank you for tuning into the Spiritual Diner today. I'm Tammy Reyes. It has been so fun to serve you a big old helping of the power of words.
Yes, indeed. And if you have found value in the show, make sure that you like and subscribe so you'll never miss a show. And please follow us here on Spiritual Diner. But I also want to point out that Tammy has her own psychic readings by Tammy on Facebook, or you can go to the tammythepsychic.com and see what she does there. She does psychic readings. She answers questions from people. And I think that you would enjoy getting to know her a little deeper in that arena.
I just love it. I love assisting others in doing readings. But be sure to tell a friend about our Spiritual Diner show, because the world can use more patrons at the Spiritual Diner.
Yes, and you can also see me on a show called He Said, He Said, He Said, which is a look at the world from a seasoned Black man's perspective. We are on Friday nights. You can find us at Linktree/He Said, He Said, He Said. We are on all platforms, and it is always a good time, informative. You'll learn something, you'll laugh. So we share these to let you know that you can see us in other places, and that it really is a special moment when we come together to create something very special for you called the Spiritual Diner. So we really do appreciate you being here. Mark your calendars, because we want you to have a reservation to join us next week, when our show will be about energy, harnessing that energy and using it to create the world you want to live in for yourself.
Totally. And there's going to be a lot of great, interesting concepts that are going to be new for people. So we're excited. Yay.
Yes, indeed. So until next time, I'm Vash Boddie.
I'm Tammy Reyes.
And we'll
And keep
see ya.
your consciousness open.
Bye.